I just remember. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth.
Ooh.
Revelations.
But lukewarm water's actually the best kind of water. You metabolize it faster.
I don't think he was talking about water, but
I think that's called it.
Could be a parable.
Could be a parable there.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many churches teach on the old book of Revelations. A lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Welcome to the show. Jason Bible, Robert Orfino, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. We're talking about taxes today and a bunch of other real estate related stuff.
Little revelations.
Rob got into a little revelations because I brought him lukewarm water.
Yep.
So, man, there's all kinds of stuff going on. You know, with the election, I would say coming to a close, but who knows at this point? I can't keep up with all the crazy stuff that's going on right now.
Well, last count, Giuliani was 2 for 36. So he would probably have been sent down to the minors already.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you got to do them all, right? You got to exhaust all options at this point. So, there's all this speculation on what the Biden presidency is going to bring to housing.
Oh, 64% tax rate. I saw YouTubers this weekend. 64% tax rate. I was like, come on.
Yeah, the reality is most folks don't pay taxes anyway, so
Right.
it's kind of a silly little deal. I'm over here at Real Clear Politics. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to see.
The problem is I just get tired of hearing people complain about taxes who I know are broke.
Yeah, a lot of broke guys complaining about taxes, right?
Broke guy complaining about tax. Like,
oh, taxes this, taxes that. I'm like,
that's the excuse, right?
dude, you make $60,000 a year. What do you pay, like 5%?
Right, exactly.
I mean, what is your real?
You pay more in sales tax in Houston than you do in your federal tax.
Yeah, it doesn't. You know, and I'll get on this rant. Something you and I are looking at is what should we investigate while we're doing it? International investing, so we can get a passport somewhere and get dual citizenship. And
Sure.
The guy I'm watching right now at Nomad Capitalist is saying some really great stuff. He's like, look, you can, you make $1 million, $2 million a year, and tax rate changes a few percentage points. I mean, it costs you $50,000, but I mean, that really doesn't move the needle for you much at the end of the day.
Right.
He said, if you can move your operation overseas and go from a 37% tax bracket to a 5%, now that starts making some more sense.
I was thinking about getting a second passport, in South Padre Island.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you get your
dual
dual citizenship in South Padre.
for South Padre, yes.
So anyway, regardless of all that stuff,
It's going to have a spaceport.
It is going to have a spaceport.
Yeah.
When can you get your internet?
When do you get your international?
I guess it's not international. It's galactic.
Interplanetary.
Yeah, interplanetary
There you
passport. So too funny. Mortgage news today. Time to close for mortgages is increasing. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone at this point.
And then the holidays aren't going to help. And then we know that underwriters just really shut down the last 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah, there's just not much.
They don't want to put anything on the books. They don't want to move it. They want to start fresh in January. There's a 3-week period from, December 20th through January 7th or 8th for mortgages. It just is.
I've said that the real estate market, which is interesting, the real estate market really doesn't. I've seen this. When I was over at Houston House Buyers, we were running a $100,000 a month marketing campaign. And for, how long was I over there? 5 years straight, we would get leads on New Year's, Christmas Day, Easter, and Thanksgiving. Because people around the holidays meeting with mom, starting to realize maybe mom can't live in this house anymore, so they're calling us to sell the house. And so what we also realized too is we saw our cost per lead plummet starting the week before Thanksgiving, and it didn't go back to normal until about, say, MLK Day.
Sure.
Is that second week of January?
Is everyone else taking off?
all these real estate investors literally take off for almost 3 months.
Yep.
It's pretty wild. So we noticed that, and we told all the guys, like, now's the time to double down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's get in while the leads are least expensive. There's virtually no competition this time of year. That's why I've always joked, like, you could go be a teacher. Like, the best job to be as a real estate investor is a teacher. You get summers off, and you get this time of year, you get a couple of weeks off. You could build a gazillion-dollar empire working your real estate business part-time as an investor, not as an agent. It wouldn't work as an agent, but it worked really well as an investor.
Sure. 'Tis the season to buy. And we're buying. Boy, we have, I think, 4 closings this short week.
Oh, no kidding. I wasn't sure. Somebody called me today. I'm like, how many you got this week? I'm like, I'm pretty sure we got a couple.
Yeah. Trying to get it wrapped up. That should only leave us about 5 on the board for December.
And then it's
I'm out
construction.
a week in December.
And then it's just straight construction.
All construction, yeah. Picked up a new crew down at Corpus, so they looked like they knew what they were doing.
Okay. That's good.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. This is a real wood table.
Yep.
So, so taxes. I'm seeing some crazy stuff about taxes.
I was freaked out. And, I pay about the same as Mitt Romney.
Yeah, which I think is a good goal. If you're in the low double digits, 12, 13%. I got to go look and see what we pay.
And everyone around me is like, how do you pay so low? And I'm like, I'm in real. Why are you paying so high?
I'm in real estate.
It's real estate. I have depreciation. What are you talking about? And then you realize, these folks aren't really kind of doing it. Really, are they?
Oh, you're getting it from real estate guys.
Yes.
How do you pay so low? And you're like, aren't you
paying that low?
Aren't you in real estate?
Yeah. What happened?
I thought. What do you mean you're not?
I was in I spent a lot of time in a network of gurus and stuff like that, and they all complain about taxes. And then it hit me. It's like, well, how could they be complaining about taxes if they own real estate? They have depreciation. Why wouldn't they be taking it?
And then you go,
wait, they don't.
They don't really have real estate.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of weird how all that works.
So remember, there's going to be 3 things that you're going to do when you that are going to help you financially when you have real estate. 1 is cash flow, 2 is appreciation, and 3 is depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
That's an accelerated depreciation for some things. It's regular depreciation, 27 and a half years, I think it is. But you have enough of these doors, your accountant's going to be like, hey, do you want to take the depreciation? And the answer for me, because I'm getting older, is yes.
Yeah.
Of course I do. Take it. Yeah. Let's take it all. And then we hooked up with a guy out of Michigan that's going to come through and do an audit here for our accelerated depreciation here.
Oh, at cost seg?
Cost segging, yeah. And then I said, well, how far can we go into single family? So we're going to have a conversation probably next week about it.
I had always heard that, and I've never done cost seg for single family. So what cost segregation is you go into an asset, and instead of taking the straight 27.5-year depreciation, you sit down and say, all right, your air conditioning, your HVAC system depreciates at this schedule.
Yeah, 13 years.
And then your roof is at this schedule. And then your windows and your floors and all that, and you have a depreciation schedule for each item in your
furniture,
asset.
carpet, lighting, all these
Everything.
stuff accelerates. Yep.
And you could accelerate it, but the idea is that you've got to your portfolio is big enough that you can afford to have a cost seg engineer write up the report and then build that into your tax schedule.
Well, that's what we're going to be looking at here, because we did do carpeting, we did do flooring, we did do lighting, we did do a lot of those things. These are all non-fixed walls.
Right, yeah.
So these accelerate much faster than the 27 and
we're in the fishbowl here, guys. It's all glass around us if you're looking around.
So we're gonna use this building as a case study for folks, and then we're also gonna look at some of our rental properties to see if there's anything there. And that should be fun. And again, it will help us reduce the amount of taxes we pay. It's real estate. Again, I mean, blessed.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The blessing of real estate, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, this is Robert and Jason here with Mr. Texas Real Estate. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Hey, if you guys want to reach out to us, go ahead and text us at 281-401-9008, 281-401-9008 about our mastermind, about our cost segging, about any of the stuff that we're doing. Love to hear from you. We can hook you up with the right people. Again, Robert and Jason here, Mr. Texas, and this is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. We'll be back. Oh, you owe them. You own Patreon. I was just thinking the market update.
Oh, okay. We're already doing that?
Yeah, you're going to do it. Ready to go. When Taylor's in tomorrow, I'm going to have her clean up some of the videos. So if you guys are watching out there on, I keep forgetting, like I think like the camera has a microphone when
when you do that?
do that, yeah. Hey, if you guys are watching, go check out our Patreon site. It's patreon.com/MRTXRE. For $25 a month, guys, you're going to get exclusive content. You're going to get the market update, which we used to do all the time. Now we're going to do that very specifically. You get, specifically for our Patreon members, you get open Q&A with Jason and Rob, and that's once a month. Again, we used to do that as a freebie. Now that's going to be for our members only. And we'll also be talking, you can talk about Airbnb there. We can talk about flipping. We can talk about buying and holding, even a little wholesaling because we started that again. So we'd love to see you on Patreon. That's where sort of all our classes, all our market education is going to. So for $25 a month, it's dirt cheap. Love to see you there. Love for you guys to get some of that content out of that. We think that'll be pretty good. All right. Ready when you are, A-Rock. You bring us back in. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert and Jason with Mr. Texas Real Estate, and this is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. What are you looking at there?
Man, I'm looking at this delinquency rates. What's so interesting is this is the classic as compared to what? So it said delinquencies fell in October, but still nearly double those last year. So we're down to 3.5 million mortgages nationwide that were 30 or more days past due but not in foreclosure in October. And that sounds like a big number until you realize like you really need to hit about 9 million before the whole world falls apart. So it's like, it's not that big a deal. I mean, it's just everyone running around, the world's going to end, all that, whatever. It's not. It just, there's record low inventory. There's record sales. I mean, if those folks end up losing their house, I mean, obviously that's not great for that family, but it's going to add additional inventory to the marketplace, which the marketplace is starving for inventory right now. So I don't get it. Let me put it that way. Doesn't make any sense to me. Everyone gets all fired. I think they're just looking to sensationalize something.
Someone asked a comparison between the Denver and DFW markets.
Oh, okay. For the Patreon thing?
No, just a question.
Oh, I'd have to sit down and look at it. Denver's been hot for a really long time.
Yeah, I think it's peaked.
And so is DFW. And the driver in both those markets is the same thing. It's higher end jobs. And the last time I looked at an economic report for Denver, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong here from the Colorado guys, but my understanding, it was a lot of tech. There was a ton of tech and medical that was moving into Denver over the last couple of years, and that was driving prices up.
And weed.
And we had the weeds. And then DFW is just all the corporates that are moving there, right? And that's been a fantastic market.
Absolutely.
Now, Dallas is different than Fort Worth. That's one thing you got to recognize there. Dallas is a whole different market than Fort Worth is. Finding rental properties in Dallas is about as impossible at this point. You're going to want to go to Fort Worth, or you're going to want to go outside of Dallas.
I think you're looking at Dallas suburbs. So what you're looking at.
Yeah, you're looking at Dallas suburbs.
Which is more and more north and north and north, right?
Yeah, north and some stuff east, and then
not a lot south, right?
There's some markets there.
South of Fort Worth.
South of Dallas, but it gets rough.
Yeah.
I looked at over 100-unit apartment complex down there, and coming down 45, and I was like, ooh, this is a little rough even for us. So some of those markets will start. It's kind of like, East Austin, right? East Austin was kind of the same way, and that's all changing because of Tesla and some other things. So we'll see, and then as that gentrification occurs, I mean, what do you do with all these folks, right? So it's going to be interesting to see that happen. But that's just my cursory look at both the markets just from the, back of my brain here rattling around. But that's really what we're seeing in both of those marketplaces. But Denver was like California level appreciation. It was absolutely bananas. Almost the whole state of Colorado was like that. Great state. It's one of those places I'd love to live. But yeah, it was a pretty bananas place for a long time. I assume it's still like that. Are you going to find a lot of rental properties in Denver? Probably not. I can look and see what the median home price there is for Denver. My guess is, yeah, the average home price is $606,000 in Denver,
Wow.
which is insane. That's of September of this year. So I wonder what their median is. Let me see if somebody can bring it up. Now, this report says 500, with the median being 420. There's just not going to be a lot of rental properties there,
Nope.
right? So it's going to be more of a flip market, but again, it's
Yeah, and you're going to retrade some of that Class B, Class A apartments, right?
yeah.
So Dallas is a hot market to retrade that stuff over and over and over, right?
So the problem is a lot of folks got to recognize, and you and I have actually done this on Facebook Live before, and we'll start doing it for everybody on YouTube. But you've got to look at how big your marketplace is. And if the marketplace isn't large enough, then the reality is just you're just not going to be successful in that market. In other words, if there's not enough inventory, you and all the other investors are fighting over a very small percentage of the marketplace.
In Class B and Class A, yeah.
Yeah, well, any apartments.
Yep.
I mean, Denver's it's a relatively large town, but how many apartment complexes are there? How many can you? I mean, just I got a crazy phone call Friday. Was it Friday or I think it was Friday? You were out of town. Got a phone call, and somebody wants to sell. This is no hyperbole. A gigantic Class B and C portfolio, huge, units in the thousands, and they want to go through one buyer, and they don't want it listed. They don't want it blasted out. They don't want it listed. They don't want to put it with a broker. And I told the person on the phone, I said, look, I'm more than willing to. I said, first step is we've got to meet with the actual owner.
Right.
And if there's one owner, I'm going to be pretty surprised. But I got to meet with who's making the decision here, because we got to have a conversation before we're signing NDAs and all that other nonsense. So I said, tell me how many units it is, and then tell me how many actual properties it is, right? How many assets. And so they told me, and I said, look, you've got to understand what they just said. We have to buy 1/12 of Houston's inventory. That's how big it is. It's easily 1 month of apartment inventory in one transaction. I don't know anyone who's pulled, like, huge hedge funds can't do that. Like, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars a portfolio. And I said, we can do it piecemeal over a year or so, but what you're asking is taking down 1/12 of the entire market in one transaction. That's a big pill. I said, look, and it's not just us. I said, here's the problem. Fannie Mae we're going to go out with the Fannie Mae, like the 10-year product, right? Or we're going to go to some banks. There's just only so much lending capacity out there. When you start talking about $250 million, $500 million, I mean, that's a big number, even in this marketplace. So to go back to Colorado, literally, we could go in and buy these. They're not only here in Houston, they're in a couple other markets. We could go in and buy a couple of thousand doors, and it would be a big deal for Houston. Well, what's a big deal for Denver? How many apartments really get sold over 50 units there? 2 a month? 3 a month? I mean, how many single-family houses that make good rental properties or even Airbnbs there get sold a month? 10, 15, 20?
Right.
So there's a scale issue when someone says, hey, can you compare a DFW market or a Houston market or San Antonio and Austin market to some other market, especially Houston, compared to somewhere else outside of Texas? I'm like, well, the one thing those comparisons fail to illustrate is how big our market is. This is a behemoth. It is the largest market in the country. It is gigantic. So it's hard to just sit down and say, well, it's this percentage versus this, and this is the median price and that. You know, part of the value in real estate is the fact that some real estate is constrained. In other words, it doesn't have, there's only so many houses for so many people, right? So in any case, that's kind of my synopsis on both those markets and some of the challenges with being an investor in either one of those. That's why we're big fans of Texas. It's easy to come here and buy real estate just because there's so much of it.
especially in this market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, if you're thinking about that, it might be a good time to start thinking about our mastermind. I had a conversation with someone over the weekend. He'll probably be coming in. He's a little bit younger than me, and he's like, hey, I've got, 15 years of buying power ahead of me. I got to get moving. I'm like, you sure do, right?
Yeah.
He's a renter now, right? So we're not even basic home ownership. So, which is good, a lot of opportunity, but this is the market, this is the time. We're going to do some good meetings in December with our groups, getting all that stuff sorted out. And really, the topic of the show, taxes, just calming people down about taxes. We got Robert Hall and Associates that we'll work with, and then we'll be off and running with those folks. Anyway, Robert and Jason here, Mr. Texas Real Estate. We'll be back.
I wasn't going to be able to stick to taxes.
Well,
This is too boring. It's just way too boring. The tax.
Ready when you are.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire it up.
We don't have tax content. We need tax content. We're talking off air about taxes. We can keep going.
He's on. He's got us live. All right, we're back. When we start having the tax discussion, it's kind of like when we start having the IRA discussion. It's like, man, all that's really sexy talk. Yeah, all that's really sexy too. You realize you still have to go find a deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you still have to operate it.
Oh,
like I get it. This is your 5th tax webinar this month. But you still have to have a portfolio in which to leverage that knowledge.
Right. I mean, there's only so many of those little blueberry cookies that you want to eat at Quest, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Quest, it's great, but you still have to know how to do the deals.
You got to know how to do the deals.
So let's start here with buying some single-family assets, buying some multifamily, maybe doing some notes. Notes are great for something like self-directed IRA, 401k, that sort of SEP, that sort of thing. Your kid's education is Coverdell's. Notes are fantastic for a Coverdell. So notes are great. Short-term notes. I'm not a big fan of long-term owner finance notes, especially with all the money that's getting printed right now. We can do a whole show on that at some point. But let's figure out how to do the deal making first. And then let's play the tax game and how do we take benefits?
I need to know everything about 1031. I need to know everything about tax loopholes before I can buy my first property.
You know what's funny is I would love to get in a room of people.
Trust.
Like a land trust room or 1031 room and say, all right, how many of you guys in here how long y'all been in real estate? 10, 15 years. Okay. And you guys have all owned it for 10 or 15. Sure. Yeah, sure. Okay. How many 1031s have you actually done?
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, what happens, if you got to do a 1031, you just call the 1031, the title company actually does the 1031, right? Yep. Or the attorney, and then they get you up to speed on everything that you've got to do. And those rules change all the time. So it's always funny to me when these guys get wrapped around the axle about, taxes and tax avoidance and tax deference and all that other stuff. And I'm like, hey, let's work on creating the deal first. I think creating the deal is the first most important thing to do, right? Let's do the deal first, and then let's move on to the kind of the sexier side of real estate.
We just got hit last night with someone who's like, hey, I have a friend of mine, she's from California, and she has 2 weeks to identify.
Yeah, and you're like, identify what and how much money
you're
you have.
Done.
Yeah, you just...
Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw that message.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm here today.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh, that's funny.
Nothing. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Again, someone told her about this thing. She thinks she knows what she's doing, and it's just like, hey, just have the attorney or whoever's brokering that to give me a call, right? And we can go ahead and find some stuff, and nothing.
Yeah, silence.
Okay.
Could you imagine if you got 2 weeks to identify in the middle of Thanksgiving and Christmas? Like, who set that sale up?
Horrible.
Like, let's talk about that. So you sit down and you go to the 1031 class, but then nobody says, like, hey, you probably don't want to do this in the holidays. Probably want to pick Q1,
sure,
Q2.
Let's close January 15th, right?
Yeah. Let's close.
We get 90 days there.
Let's close on the sale of the first. Okay, so let's explain what a 1031 exchange is because people are like, "What's going on?" So 1031.
It's welfare for rich people.
It's welfare for rich people. So all it allows you to do is defer your capital gains into the future.
Yep.
That's all it does. So technically what the tax code says is if you sell a like-kind asset. You can then take all of those capital gains and apply them to the next property. In other words, so you don't take any money out of, quote, the deal.
Right.
Now, there's some nuances there. I'm not going to get it. There's a
But the deal could cash flow. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah,
of
it doesn't matter,
Yep.
right? You're just taking your money and roll it to the next thing, right? So there's some advantages to it. There's some disadvantages to it. The biggest advantage is you're not going to pay capital gains this year. So, and then there's a whole deal with if you die and there's a step-up basis and all. I don't get into any of that because I'm not a tax guy and it doesn't really matter. So, because you're dead.
Yes.
Like, I get it. The joke you and I have is you're going to make all this money to give it to your kids so they can blow it all by the third generation.
Grandkids will blow all your money.
Yeah, the grandkids will blow all your money. So all you guys out there that are doing the real estate for my family, like I've got to do it for my family. I'm like, they blow it all by the third generation.
Absolutely, yep.
So you might as well enjoy your Lambo now because they're going to get a Lambo and you're not, and they're just going to blow all of it, right?
You should just pay the damn taxes. Don't worry about it.
Pay the taxes, who cares? Just go to the next deal. So this
and I can just tell you that those 1031 conferences, it reeks of like Old Spice.
Oh yeah.
And hair dye.
Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah.
There is nobody under the age of about 60 that's at that conference.
Did you see Rudy sweating his hair dye off?
I did. That's pretty.
Honest to God, I immediately thought of it. 1031 conference.
If you guys missed it, Rudy was at a press conference and his hair dye started running down the side of his face. So
every 1031 I've met is like in their 80s. They're all, it's like, guys, who cares?
Yeah, who cares at this point?
What are you doing? And it's like, I guess it's the one last purpose, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel that I don't like 1031s. I think they should do away with it. Right after I sell my apartments.
That's right. Right after I sell my apartments to get in the next ones. So let's talk about one of the big negatives of 1031s. Sure. It artificially distorts a real estate market.
It absolutely does. Not good.
So what ends up happening is they've got this tax-deferred capital gain, and they would rather put it to work ahead of making a smart buying decision. We've seen it so many times. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of guys that make good buying decisions. They identify before they close on the first one.
Yeah,
so then,
absolutely. Yep.
So,
but not a lot of people are making. They're not buying deep with their 1031.
No,
they're overpaying.
They're overpaying for stuff, and it artificially inflates the value of a marketplace because they don't pay taxes on it. They're like, well, if paying a little bit more for it is less than the tax, I'll do it. That's the mentality, right? And so what ends up happening is, and in markets in particular like this, we actually talked about DFW. There's a ton of California money that comes into DFW.
Sure. Yep.
That is absolutely propping up that real estate market there, in particular multifamily. So the idea that, we're just going to we can just totally 1031. Like you hear a guru say,
well, just 1031.
Oh yeah, just 1031. You don't have to pay capital gains, and you're like, whoa, hold on. There's a little bit of a finer dance associated with that, right? So I always find that absolutely fascinating. Oh yeah, just 1031, no big deal.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, back up there, Chief. Let's start with how that process works. So you sell a property. You've got, is it 60 days? Oh, you got 90 days to identify.
And 90 days to close.
And 90 days to close. So you have 90 days from the time you sell the asset. And by the way, it goes into escrow at a 1031 title company. At least that's how it works here in Texas. So it goes into escrow. You can't touch it. And then you have to identify in 90 days an asset you're going to buy, and then you have to close in 90 days, which to a lot of people says, oh, well, I only have to close in 6 months, right? I'm like, yeah, but you got to be on your toes. If we've had some 1031 folks call us with millions and millions of dollars. They're like, oh,
$5 million.
I got $5 million.
What do you got?
What do you guys have? I'm like, what do you mean, what do we have? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we need to identify. We only got like 30 days left to identify, and then we need to close. And I'm like, on a let's see, $5 million would get you a $25 million deal, right?
Yeah.
At least. Probably 20, let's say somewhere between 20 and 25 million. I'm like, you need to identify, finish your due diligence, set up all your financing, your operations team, and then you got to close. Like, that is a tight schedule.
It is almost every single time. It has never, ever been not this way. So never not means it's this way.
Yeah.
It's California.
Yes.
And they're calling me because they know I was in California and I need help deploying money to Texas because there's not any deals in California. It's like,
right.
That's right. What probably happened is you sold that property at a deal.
That's right.
And you've got nowhere else to park.
Nowhere else to go.
So they call me in Texas, or they call us in Texas, and it's just like, yeah, we got plenty, but you're going to overpay like you're going to overpay in California. You're just a little bit better here.
Yeah. The good guys, the way they do it is they're looking 60, 90 days before they're closing on the first asset, and they go, all right, time to go shopping.
Yep. Hey, we're going to be back with more of this. This is the Not Fun Tax Show. But that title exchange must be very lucrative.
Oh, yeah.
Because I see so many, like, people that promote the 1031 that are not doing the 1031. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm part of the San Diego Association. I'm like, interesting. So there must be a lot of people that just eat off the fringe there, right?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, we talked to Pat and Title, right? I've talked to Ashley about it, and he's like, look, dude, you know what? We'll bring this up in the next segment.
Yep. Ready to go when you are.
All right, welcome back, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. All right, we're talking about taxes and 1031 exchanges. So I want to share something with the audience that I bet they did not know, because I didn't know it until Ashley Patton shared it with me. We were talking about 1031 exchanges because we had somebody in our group. We got a bunch of guys in our group that need to rebalance their portfolios, and they need to be doing 1031s. And this is what Ashley told me. I said, hey, do you guys do 1031s over there? He's like, we're not set up for it. And he said, here's one of the things you need to know about 1031s. He said, if a title company goes into bankruptcy, the capital in that 1031 account is jumbled together in the bankruptcy proceedings.
Oof.
At least that's how it works here in Texas. So you need to work with a 1031 exchange company that is gigantic, and if they file bankruptcy, it's because the entire world is ending.
Sure.
So he said the only one I recommend is Fidelity. He said, they have a 1031 group, and they've got them here in Houston. I can't remember the name of them, but he's like, those are the only ones you want to deal with, because they're so big that even if the world ends, your capital is going to be safe. It's not going to get wrapped up in some kind of bankruptcy proceedings, that sort of thing, because Fidelity's backed up by a gigantic bank. So the idea that that's one of the things they don't talk about in those seminars. Well, what happens if the 1031 exchange title company files for bankruptcy?
Right.
And if you don't think it can happen, I can tell you it absolutely happened in the last real estate crash. And how those bankruptcies happened is title companies were funding before they got the proceeds from the lender. Mm-hmm. And so they were sending out, title companies have a bunch of lines of credit, right? So let's say you're selling your house for $200,000. They're paying off a loan. The $200,000, before that $200,000 comes in from the bank, the new borrower, that $200,000 ends up going out to the seller. So what happened in 2008 was there were a bunch of banks that said, we're not funding those deals. And the title company said, excuse me? And I know this for a fact because I interviewed a gal who was at a title company in Florida, and she said 6 or 18 of her branches went belly up in 24 hours. Gone. Because all these lenders said, yeah, we're not funding any of those deals. They had already sent the wires out to the sellers for the seller proceeds, and it was game over overnight. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, we'll take advantage of it when it suits us. But again, if you have regular real estate, depreciation should help you out. If you're owning commercial properties, I would absolutely look at cost segging, and then just pay the damn taxes, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's I don't get it.
Well, it sets up. I mean, it's kind of like
I do get it. I do get it. At some point, we stop growing and start protecting.
Yeah.
And when you're in that protection mode, it's all about what's the government taking from you, right?
I have talked to so many guys that have bought and sold companies, and when they sell their last one and they're getting into those, I don't want to say retirement years, but those kind of years where they're really starting to consider, okay, well, maybe we're kind of done here. They say you will spend more time protecting it than you have ever spent building.
Building it, yeah.
Like the amount of time you spend thinking about it And I always thought that was a fascinating thing, which makes sense because when we talk to folks that obviously are using their retirement funds to invest in our fund and syndications and all that, that's all they're trying to do, right?
Yep.
Their first question is, how is my principal protected? How do I not lose money, right? So, or at the very least, you guys are able to give my initial principal back, right? That's always the first discussion. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, how do we make money, right?
Investing 101. The investor wants to know how they get their money back, not how much. That's their first concern.
Right.
Not how much am I going to make. How do I get my money back?
Yeah, I need to teach a private money course just on that, where it's like, guys, their first concern is not how much money they're going to make. They want to know how much you can lose.
Yep.
And how they're going to be exposed to that risk.
Because they're in protection mode.
That's right.
Us, we're making investments and we forget about it, right?
Right.
We're just, hey, it's in growth. We'll come back in 5 years and sort all this out. We'll just let it run, right? I'm in Tesla mode. I'm the happiest guy in the world.
That's right.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happens, right? When you get into that protection mode, when you retire or you're getting close to retirement, I think that world changes for you, right? And then you start taking a very serious look at taxes. When you're in growth mode, I just got to get these properties, right? I got to build out my portfolio. There should be enough there that you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So that's what shocked me when I see, guys in their 40s and 50s complaining about taxes, and it says to me, you're not in growth mode.
Right, and you should be.
You should be. You don't have much time left here.
Yeah.
You've got to get this stuff going. Now, up and down the tax. In my lifetime, I've seen taxes go up. I've seen them go down.
Well, I mean, to tie a fine bow on this thing, when you talk to the guys like over at Nomad Capitalist, what he said before is, at the end of the day, the rate goes up or it goes down. It really doesn't make that. It doesn't make that much a difference.
No, it's not a big one.
It's not like you're going from, $1 million a year in taxes to $10. I mean, there's just, it's all this game on the fringes, right?
Yeah.
And, one of the things, although I'm not the biggest Robert Kiyosaki fan, I do think one of the things he says that's pretty good is the tax code is designed to make it's not punitive, it's incentivized.
Right.
So as an investor, you're incentivized to buy more real estate. You'll notice the Canadian real estate market is terrible because you're not able to write off your interests against your mortgage. I mean, or against your taxes. It's crazy, right? So there's really not that much real estate investing goes on in Canada because of the tax implications there. Here, it's obviously a lot different. The real estate industry is very big.
Yep.
Because there are some tax
number one deduction,
incentives.
right?
Right. Yeah. There's some tax incentives here, and so the government wants you to invest in real estate.
Well, the government wants you to invest. The government wants you to start small businesses, right? Period.
That's true.
That's what the government is out there doing. It's two tax codes, right? One for individuals and one for businesses. And which one do you think is better?
Yeah, I'll give you a guess.
Yeah. Well,
it's not the individual. Okay, now you get one guess.
Yeah, but it never has been. Even under Clinton, even under Obama, it has never been better for the individual.
Right.
It's always been about business.
Right.
And at the core, I think most people understand that.
Well, who is the one that gets hammered the most by taxes? And it's real simple. It's high wage earners.
Yeah, of course.
If you're a high wage earner, W-2 wage earner, you're the one that gets hammered the most.
No K-1, no 1099. You're just high W-2, the high sales guy, the attorney, the doctor. Yeah, they get destroyed.
Yeah, the worst thing in the world is to be a W-2 making $500,000 a year. It's awful. You just get obliterated, right?
You get crushed, yeah.
You're making $500,000. Your wife's probably making $500,000, $250,000.
34% tax bracket. That's a lot,
yeah.
right?
You and your spouse are making $750,000 a year. You're living in a $2 million house, and you think you're doing well. And then you look at your taxes. You go, we're getting crushed on taxes.
Yep.
You're paying $250,000 a year in taxes. It's insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And I think again, that's why, doctors love real estate.
Yeah, yeah.
Doctors absolutely love real estate because they love the depreciation part about it and the appreciation, right? So it's a retirement plan for them. So. Anyway, guys, that was our not so exciting conversation on taxes. We do appreciate you guys hanging out with us every night here and watching us on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, go to our channel. It's the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Hit subscription. Hit set your notifications. We're going to be we have a couple adults we hired just
we got some
recently.
adults in the office.
We have adults in the office, so you might actually see us a little more structured and looking pretty a little bit cleaner here in the upcoming months. So
Yeah, new websites, new
Yeah.
social media stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff running down the pike here.
So we're kind of excited about that. We'd love to make sure that you guys are following along. You check out our website, mrtxre.com. MR is in Mr. TX is in Texas. RE is in real estate.com. And then again, if you want to hold of Texas at 281-401-9008. All right, guys, thank you all so much for listening tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night.